We're good. We're good. Okay, great. Project Herpetoculture, episode 31. Before we introduce our guest, I'm gonna just do a little bit of the whole spiel that we do every time. This Philip Leitz, that's this guy right here, me, joined as always by the wonderful and charismatic, enigmatic, and handsome Roy Arthur Blodgett of Wellspring Herpetoculture, the one and only. Yeah. We want to give the little plug here for Charlie to toss in our sponsors. Charlie the goat, and also just shout out to him for editing our audio. He's really kicking ass. He's the one and only. Another mention that we have, well, actually the Patreon thing we have in the snippet, right? The sponsor snippet too. Okay, cool. So all right, I'm gonna skip right over that. And then also want to give a shout out to Dylan at the Animals at Home Network, the GOAT, for hosting our show and for putting out a killer podcast in his own right, the Animals at Home podcast, and also the other wonderful shows on the Animals at Home Network. It's growing into quite the what do you want to call it? Quite the menagerie, as it were, of enthusiastic reptile individuals. And with all of that said and out of the way, I would like to introduce our guest, Matt Tietgen. Matt, thank you again for this. For the sake of everyone knowing, this is the second time we're trying to hit this podcast with Matt. He's been an incredibly good sport about both Roy and myself having to reschedule. And then when we were recording, the first time we tried to record the show, my computer just decided it was time to take a shit and disappear and just crash for like an hour and a half in. So he really, thank you again for taking the time, and thank you for putting up with all of the inherent flaws when you're dealing with two amateur podcasters.
Yeah, no problem. Yes. Good to be here again.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, yet again. So I'm going to go ahead and start us off with the classic softball question, and then I'm going to pass some of the next questions off to my man, Roy Arthur Blodgett. So, and again, I know you answered this already because we did this before, but can you tell us, Matt, about how herpetoculture started for you? And that, maybe included in that would be both how your interest was piqued, maybe how you started keeping, and then when and how you recognized it as a career path.
Sure. So when I was about, 8 or 9, I was flipping through the TV. I happened to land on Croc Hunter, of course. And then, from there on, I was instantly hooked. I think right after that first episode ended, I ran to my mom and said, "Hey, I want a pet lizard." Right. Yeah. Out of left field. I'm sure she was pretty surprised by that. We started researching like what's the best pet lizard for a kid. Back then, the internet wasn't what it is today, so I feel like we flipped through yellow pages looking for reptile shops or pet shops, and ended up finding out, leopard gecko or bearded dragon's the way to go. And so I picked leopard gecko. So I got a leopard gecko. I got a leopard gecko there, and then probably, I don't know, maybe a year later, I talked her into letting me get another lizard. And then I went with a bearded dragon. So I had a leopard gecko and bearded dragon up until, I don't know, I was 18 or so. And then, in school, I kind of wanted to be a vet. I know I wanted to work with animals. I preferred working with reptiles. And then I decided vet school was way too much for me. So I went to college for a year for a biology degree and started debating what I could do with reptiles. And my cousin actually interned at Omaha Zoo as a graphic designer, and she talked me into applying for an internship with the reptile department. So I did that, and that summer I ended up getting internship there, and I kind of just never left. So I was an intern for a year at Omaha Zoo, and then after that year, I was actually got lucky enough to get hired on. So I've been doing that for about 15 years. I've been a zookeeper. I actually worked in Omaha for 4.5 years, and then left to Phoenix Zoo. Also did reptiles there for another 4.5 years, and then I've been back. I think I came back in 2017 and been in Omaha since then. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Amazing, man.
Yeah.
Just for a bit of like background kind of for our listeners, I'm curious if you could speak a bit to like what is unique about Omaha's Henry Dorley Zoo and Aquarium, and also what your role is there, like more specifically.
Sure. So Omaha's very often ranked among some of the top zoos in the world. And we also happen to have one of the coolest buildings ever built in the entire world also. The Desert Dome, which is my main office, is it's a 13-story, 1,700 plus panel geodesic dome. And it encompasses 3 deserts throughout the world. We got Namib in South Africa. It's supposed to be the red center of Australia, but Australian animals are almost impossible to come by. So we kind of work with what we can get. So we just kind of call that Australia. And then the Sonoran Desert in Southwest US and Mexico. And then underneath it is the world's largest nocturnal exhibit called Kingdoms of the Night. And that's where a lot of our crocodilians are. Like we have an indoor swamp kind of supposed to mimic the Okefenokee in Georgia. And then we have a big bayou with the American crocodile. We have a freshwater crocodile exhibit with a lot of Australian turtles also. Then snakes, frogs, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I have a question about this. I don't know much about the Omaha Zoo at all, but do you know what like much about like the history and the impetus around building the geodesic dome in particular, and why it's representing deserts as opposed to any other habitat in particular?
Doc, our old director, was just engineer with like ideas out, just crazy ideas. Well, I can just say that. So he wanted it to go big or go home with him. So we also have one of the largest indoor rainforests in our zoo. Like our buildings are just insane, and they all came from his vision. Like with the Desert Dome, he goes to these places that he wants to mimic, takes pictures of the rocks and gives them to the designers and say, make this rock in that. So all of our fake rock work is designed after actual rock work within these ranges. Like Australia has a fake Uluru Ayers rock, fake wave rock, and there's like a Queesep Canyon, which is an actual canyon in Namibia. It's crazy.
Amazing.
Man, that's some dedication, some detail there. Yeah.
We also have the largest aquarium within a zoo. Like aquariums are usually their own separate thing, but we have an aquarium within our zoo, and I think it's still the largest aquarium within an actual zoo. So.
Amazing.
Man,
so we got a lot of material to talk about here.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I want to deep dive a little bit on some of the species that you're focusing on at the zoo, but before that, we also have some material to talk about with you have a private collection at home as well, right?
Yep.
And so I'm curious if we could talk a little bit about like what you're focusing on there, what species or genre you're working with, and why, what's drawn you to them.
Yeah, sure. I guess I should go back. I had a leopard gecko and a bearded dragon to start with, and I never really got into the hobby breeding side until after I was at the zoo. So I actually started at home with blue-tongued skinks and blood pythons. Bred blue-tongued skinks for a couple of years and blood pythons for a few years. And then I decided I wanted dwarf monitors because I love monitors. So I actually sold the blue-tongued skinks and got some Gillini, Ackies, and Tristis, the black-headed monitors. So I bred, those guys. Gillini I had the most success with for sure. Like they were I think I got those in the first import in forever for Gillini from Europe. So I was actually I helped get that population back up in the US. And then I decided when I moved to Phoenix, I guess I had a pair of Amiae also before I left Phoenix, and Nephris Amiae, and they're now one of my biggest focuses. I haven't gotten out of Nephris since then because I love those. They've been my constant for throughout this whole thing. But I went to Phoenix, decided I was kind of done with snakes, so I sold all my blood pythons, most of my monitors except for a few Gillini. I took those with me also. So when I was in Phoenix, I had Gillini, and I started building up the Nephris collection. So it got Amiae, Levis, Cinctus, and then moved back home with that same collection. Then decided to work on some other odds and ends. So kind of got rid of the Gillini. I still love them. They're so cool. They're kind of drab for monitors, but I like earth tone lizards, and they're a lot of fun too. They'll climb up on you, and they don't care about anything. They're pretty personable. But then I did a few other odds and ends. I did Petrosaurus at home for a bit. I had some yellow tree monitors that I sold recently. But yeah, I've sold everything now because I'm now getting into Uromastics, except Nephris I'm keeping because I need to make some money with some geckos before those. I mean, Uromastics going to be a few years before I can even try to breed those. But Phil knows I'm getting the Euros because I already got some from him.
You got the bug.
How are they doing, by the way? Is everybody doing good?
Great. No, I didn't see them for a few months because it was cold, but now everybody's starting to come out again. So that's been a lot of fun.
Right.
They just decided, nope, wintertime. No matter what you do with the lights, they know what time it is. So, so I did cool them.
Yes, man, this is like the bane of my existence in some ways, because I have a friend who is a phenomenal Uromastics breeder in his own right. He's wonderful, right? And he has said to me on the phone before, where he said, "Oh, I'm surprised you let your youngsters go through winter brumation." And I'm like, I'm surprised to hear you think that you can stop them from doing it. Like,
yeah,
because not only have I tried every form of bumping up heat and ambient temps and nighttime temps and everything, but also it seems to be highly individual. So just as an example, and I know that this is a tangent, but it's worth it, I think, in this context. I'll have a row of 5 Thomasi in the same room. They're right next to each other. They have the same setup, the same lighting, the same interior style of setup, the same diet, the same light schedule. There's no change in temperature between all of the individual cages, and yet they will like one at the end, one in the middle, and one at the other end will decide, fuck it, it's winter time, and they just dive and they don't grow or do anything for 2-3 months. Whereas this one next to the middle and this one next to the middle just don't even notice and just continue to crush right through the cool season. And it's like, I have no idea what is stimulating them to decide to go down or stay up or whatever. And so was it for you, Matt, did every single one of them do it? And did they do it at the same time, or did they start at different times? And did any of them, because you got, if I recall, it was Nigroventris and Ornata, correct?
And Thomasi.
And Thomasi, yes. And did any not do it at all?
No, they all went down for a bit. Thomasi came out, went down last and came out first. So they're active right now. Like, they're loving it. Ornata, I would say, would be in the middle. Like, they just came out like maybe last week. They started moving around. And Nigroventris, they went out cold, basically.
Yeah.
But they're I also don't know when the heck those Nigroventris come out, but they're coming out now because the food disappears and it gets replaced with poop. So I don't know. They're doing the thing. I don't like lift up rocks or anything to bother them. Like, all right, guess you're doing okay, because food's leaving and poop's coming. So yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. Yeah, well, hopefully, yeah, I'm excited to talk more about those as they grow and as you get towards breeding them, because I know you're going to, and I know you're going to kill it. So
Yeah,
that's fantastic. But
yeah,
anyway, I
they've been a
know
lot of fun. Yeah.
they're so cool, man. Yeah. Anyway, but I know if we keep going that way, I'm just going to talk forever about Euros. So I'm going to try to bring us back. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. I forgot where we were. Yeah.
Oh, we were just talking about what he's working with in his private collection
Right.
and why he's drawn to those species.
Those Tristis, dude, those black-headed monitors are
Yeah.
they're so beautiful. Those are some of the
Yeah.
coolest monitors ever.
Yeah, those are fun too. Can't keep
Yeah.
everything though.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I'd keep them in a much bigger enclosure. Like I don't think anything's big enough for even the smallest monitor. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're so active.
yeah,
Yep.
I have been a 4x2x3. I don't even think I'd probably want it to be at least 6 foot tall for those at this point. Maybe even 3
Mhm.
foot wide.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Damn, badass.
Yeah, that's something I feel with a lot of species. It's like it's hard to go too big, you know,
Yeah,
with a
it's
lot of stuff.
impossible.
Yeah, exactly. And I find that especially with the more active species, it's so rewarding the more space you can give them.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like that with the sulphureus, the spilotes that I keep, you know, they're in this 8 foot by 3 foot by 6 foot setup, and I'm soon going to be moving them to our land here. They're currently an hour away, and I commute to take care of them. And when I do that, I'm already scheming about building a 12 foot by 3 foot by 6 foot setup for them, just because it's like, why not?
Yeah. I
I
feel
might
like
as
if you,
well.
yeah, if you go see anything in the wild and see what they can actually do, like I don't think anything will
Oh
ever feel
yeah,
big enough. Just the way they move, how
Mhm.
fast they can be, how
Yeah.
active
totally.
they can be. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like
well
you see a
said.
little whiptail. I mean, those things are out for hours at
Oh
daylight. I mean,
yeah,
they're like 5 inches and they're just everywhere, cruising everywhere. So
totally.
Oh yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Yes. It's so true. I mean, even actually this was something we touched on also with Eric Haycraft, which was talking about how when he sets up his some of his lizards outdoors, he puts them in these, like, what did he say, like 25-foot runs. And a 25-foot run is like one of the only ways we can really let them get up to top speed,
Mhm.
and you sort of have to wonder if your animals are never getting anything more than a few feet at a stretch. They're never getting up to top speed, so they're never getting sort of like the full use of their musculature, and maybe what effects, if any, will that have on like their posture and
Mhm.
their ergonomics and their, I think about this all the time with my Egyptians, you know,
Mhm.
because I have them in pretty large cages compared to the average person, but you're never going to give them a big enough space for an Egyptian. It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, an Egyptian is just such a massive lizard. Um, and so I do a lot of work. Actually, I've talked about this before, but I have at the end of a broomstick, I have a cat litter scooper, because my male Egyptian's such a sasshole, man. He does not like me. It does not like me getting into his enclosure, and will attack me when I come into it to clean. And so I use this scooper to pick up the turds, but he also attacks the scooper. So I've been using the scooper as like a target to get him just ripping around that cage so he can get extra exercise and get extra mobility and movement and stuff like that. Anyway, the slight tangents.
No, this is the good stuff.
That's
Well,
true, actually.
I'm curious. I mean, if you could speak a little bit to some of the highlights at the zoo. Phil and I already have a sneak peek of what you get to play with over there, but
Yeah.
yeah, if you could speak to some of your favorites that you're working with there.
Uh, yeah, I'm kind of Mr. Australia, so I actually took all the Australian exhibits from everybody else. But
Yeah.
yeah, as far as highlights, inland taipans, obviously, like we're now one of only two AZA zoos that keep inland taipans because everybody else decided
Wow.
their antivenom is too expensive, so they got rid of all their Australian elapids.
Hmm.
We actually bred those, first zoo in the US to breed inland taipans, so that was really exciting. We have two babies we're raising up.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then Yeah, obviously Perenties. So
Yeah,
Perenties
big
are my
deal.
top. Yeah, they're my top dog for animals for sure. They always have been. Probably back in Steve Irwin days, watching him catch those things, like that was just the most beautiful animal I've ever seen in my life. And
Yeah.
kind of didn't think I'd ever even get to see one. So that was my dream, was actually see a Perentie. That was my dream for them. And then 2018 was my first time seeing them, and that was to bring one to our zoo. So that was the best day of my life. And then
Yeah.
a couple years ago, we got a female. Dallas had a female they had been raising up that they produced a few years ago. And they're like, hey, you want a female? We're like, heck yeah, we want a female. What are you talking about? So we raised her up for, I think, about a year, maybe just through the winter. And we paired them up. And eggs are now hatching. So this has been the biggest roller coaster ride of my life. I haven't told you guys this, but this has been the biggest roller coaster of my life, ride of my life with these eggs. Like, because the first one hatched a month ago, and today we just hatched 2 more.
What?
And there's still 1 egg
Wow.
left. So they've been hatching the
Wow.
weirdest. I've never dealt with this in my whole life, and it has to be Perenties doing it to me. So it's like, one day you're like, oh my God, they're hatching, awesome. And then nothing. And 5 days later, another one hatches, like, oh, all right, now it's happening. Nothing. 5 days later.
Is that
I've never heard of this happening ever. So
right? That's
a
what I was
big
going to ask. Is the other places that have hatched them, it's more holistic, like they all hatched around the same time, or is
we're in the process of asking them that. We have no idea.
Mhm.
There's only been, like, Dallas has done it, Terry up in Reptile Gardens has done it, and then the rest have all been in Australia. No one else has bred these
Mhm.
things.
sure.
So yeah, we're at 277 days since they've been
Wow.
laid. Was our last 2 that hatched today. Still have 1 to go. So that's,
Wow.
we're over 9 months. The first one
Wow.
hatched a month ago in January, 14th of January. It's insane.
Amazing.
And
Almost my birthday.
I've been taking weights and measurements, and it's not anywhere like I thought these would be bigger than the first one, but it's really not. It's kind of negligible as their size. And
Interesting.
yolk too. Like I thought they'd absorb more yolk. Like I thought maybe the first one was just early. Nope, same amount of yolk still laying out. So it's been weird. Like I'm happy.
Wow.
I'm happy to experience it. Like, to say this is a dream come true is an understatement. Like my dream for Perenties was just seeing one, and now I actually bred them this year. It's crazy.
Yeah. What was that? I mean, what was that like for you, like looking in that incubator and seeing the first baby?
I
Can
can't
you
even describe it. No.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
one of my coworkers is the one that saw it. He like called me, like it was at the very end of the day, so I was getting ready to leave. It's like, get your camera, get up to the incubator right now. It's like, no way. It's like, yeah, man, it's out. So I ran up there, and he's sitting there just looking at it. He knew this was like probably meant more to me than him, even though he was real excited too. So he just had the tub open, like, look at that thing, it's beautiful. I like pushed him out of the way and just grabbed it, like, look at this, oh my gosh. But so yeah, he was nice and waited for me to be the first one to hold it. But man,
Wow, man.
crazy. And then
Unreal.
every time they hatch, it's that same feeling. So it's like there's giving me a little hint of dopamine, and then like anxiety saying, nope, the rest aren't gonna hatch, and then more dopamine, and then anxiety again. They're doing that to me for a month now. So, but yeah, we're almost done. The others that have hatched are doing great. Like I've been able to tongue feed some already, so it's awesome.
That's awesome.
I just kind of, when I take care of them, it's like I do 2 minutes of doing what I need to do, and then half hour just sitting there staring at them and watching them. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's awesome.
So I have a couple of questions about so I also have questions about the taipans, but I feel like I'm going to zero in on the Perenties just because why wouldn't you? Can you describe what the adult Perenti enclosures look like in terms of, a little bit in terms of dimension, and then do they have again, because with that geodesic dome, are they getting natural sun exposure as a result of that? And then secondarily, can you describe how that compares to how are you guys rearing the babies enclosure wise? So I know that's 2 totally separate things, but I don't want to forget either one of them.
Yeah, the exhibit, we have a couple of caves. so they're not getting the panels don't hit their exhibit, but it's
Okay.
about 30 foot by 30 foot long, maybe 15 to 20 foot deep, and then I mean 20 foot tall, but they can't hit the ceiling. But there is a couple, like we have a light bank low, and to hide those fixtures we have fake concrete on that, so they can actually climb up
Mhm.
onto that shelf
Oh, wow.
if they want, so they can climb a couple stories in their exhibit
Wow.
also if they feel like it. And then our off display holding is smaller, obviously, but not. It's about 20 foot long, I think, maybe 8 foot deep, and then 6 foot tall. And then the babies, I custom built their enclosure right next to that adult enclosure, and I made that out of 1x1 aluminum tubing and plexiglass panels, and then a light bank is 1x1 wire mesh, rubber coated, and I have four fixtures on the basking spot, so they have a pretty long range to bask at 130, and then I have a T5 UV fixture in there also, so you get some UV exposure, and that's
Sick.
probably, I think it's just custom dimensions because I had to fit it in the corner. I think it's 37, 38 wide, 33 inches deep, and 3 foot tall.
Nice.
Wow. Excellent. And because of the size of the adult exhibit or enclosures, I guess those are sort of interchangeable in this context, right? The are you doing like a lot like what does interaction look like with them, you know? Because in my mind I'm thinking of most zoos, or maybe I shouldn't say most zoos, but when I'm thinking about a zoo interacting with the animals, I think depending on the animal, it can tend to be relatively hands-off, relatively minimal. But with something like those Perenties, I'd imagine, especially given what you know about them, I would imagine you're engaging with them regularly and giving them lots of
Mhm.
interaction. Are you doing any training with them? You know, how do, you know, when you're presenting food, are you doing it in various ways to try to give them lots of different psychological stimulation? I mean, all of that.
Yeah, we do. I can go in with him. He's pretty cool. They're both really handleable. We do train. We try to train all of our monitor lizards just because we know they're really intelligent. They're really active, so we need to get them moving. So they're both target trained. And I can walk him onto a scale if I want, or I can just hold him because he's awesome and I like holding him anyways. But technically I could just train him on. And then, yeah, for when we first got him, we actually spent hours a day doing like ethograms, just seeing how he utilizes his exhibit, what we can do to make it better for him. Like, can he climb that up onto that shelf where we want him to climb? And is he burrowing? Is he not burrowing? Because that exhibit's also got 3 foot of like baseball diamond clay in it, so it holds burrows really well. It's the excavator clay that's whoever sells that.
Mhm.
Exoterra or Zoomed, whoever does
Mhm.
that. It's the same stuff, but we bought it from, wholesale, not from a reseller.
Yeah.
So it was way cheaper. So we got 2 tons of that and filled that exhibit with it. So yeah, it's 3 foot deep, and then there's a hole in that exhibit because that was actually designed for wombats. So there's a hole that goes down probably 7 foot and then goes another 15 feet into a wall that if they found that would be a nightmare. We're kind of worried the female would find that when she was nesting, but luckily she didn't. So yeah, we looked at if he was burrowing, if he was pacing, rubbing his nose on the glass. So we documented all that. An hour, I think we did 2 20-minute ethograms on that. Plus, we enriched him every day and did another 10-minute ethogram on how he utilized that enrichment to see if that was helping or what he was doing with that enrichment. So it could be like blood trails or hide prey or new scent. Like we'll throw snake sheds in there, which is something real interesting about the snake sheds. I'd throw a king brown snake shed in there and he would smell it, kind of get terrified and bite it and rip it to shreds, like trying to kill it.
Whoa.
And then I'd throw a Bradle's python shed in there, and he ate it. Like he just knows, oh, that's not venomous. That's food. Or
Yeah.
that's venomous. Oh my God, I better kill that thing. So it's crazy how fast they could recognize that just flicking a shed, like one little tongue flick. It's like, oh my God, gotta kill that thing. So that was real cool finding there. So yeah, we did a lot of research to see how we can make his exhibit better. We did add some branches and stuff because of that, like to make it easier for him to get up on that shelf. Especially the male. The female can climb, but the male's actually, he's almost 20 years old now, and he actually came and we discovered he had bone cancer in his left foot. So we had to amputate his left foot. So now he has like a little stump on his back leg, and he has like a little syndrome, basically thinking he can claw a branch with that foot still, but poor guy can't. But he can still get around, still gets around just fine. Like, it's crazy how fast he recovered from that. Like, it never even happened. So
Wow.
Amazing.
but yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. I forgot what it was.
Oh, no. So the other part of the question was like when you're feeding them. So okay, so as like a comparative example, I've talked a lot with Troy at the Denver Zoo about his work with the Komodos. And one of the things we talked about when I was there last was obesity, right? Because obesity is so common in captive reptiles, and the ways that they try to mitigate that with the Komodos. Is this something that is ever a problem with Perenties? And then like diet speaking, like what is their diet looking like for you guys?
Yeah, so there's not enough Perenties in captivity to do that. Like Komodos, we know Komodos have been like, how am I supposed to say this? Like, we still have issues with Komodos. We have no idea how to take care of Komodos properly. We're learning now because they're dying way too young. They're dying at, they're lucky if they hit 20. And that is all due to obesity. Like, zoos we wanted, we always want to grow animals fast, right? So we load them with food, and that makes them way obese, makes them grow way too fast. Their joints can't keep up with it. So they get gout in their joints, and a lot of them have hip issues. There's old dragons, they can barely walk because their joints are messed up. Gout fills up with their heart, and then they're obese. There's now been a long-term study on Komodo Island we have a growth rate curve that we're now trying to follow. So hopefully this new generation of Komodos is going to live way longer than what we have now. And if you follow that curve, like we were raising babies in Phoenix, and man, you'd almost feel like you're starving the things, right? Like, when you compare that to what you're used to feeding monitor lizards. I mean, you just pound them with rats, right? But not.
Yeah.
But man, they're lucky if they get 2 hoppers a week, and their hips look great, their abdomen's not puffing out, and yeah, even with that, we're struggling to keep on that curve. We're almost going high, and then we have to back off and go low. So I think the future's good with Komodos if everybody follows that research, which they should be doing. As far as the Perenties go, I've been trying to keep them lean and mean too. So a rat a week is all the adults get, and I'll target train him so he's burning calories to do that, or I'll throw it or hide it so he has to hunt and find it himself. So yeah, it's not just tongue feed five rats, here's your rats, put it in your mouth type of thing. So the babies right now I'm just raising. I mean, I've only seen 3 of them eat actively because they're too scared of me right now, but those are going to be mostly on insects for a while. I have done chopped pinkies, but
yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, raising Perenties just hasn't been done enough to know. And wild Perentie research, you'd think there'd be some, but there really isn't. Like, we don't know anything about these animals. They're an iconic Australian lizard, but we know almost nothing about them. So
That's so interesting.
Yeah. When you guys introduced like the pair, they don't cohabitate? Are they solo?
Yeah, we keep them solo until we will be reintroducing them in the spring, but for the most part we keep them solo. Just for their own stress. They got along just fine when we put them together, like almost too fine. Like, I mean, that male was on top of her constantly. But
Mhm.
I never saw like a full on, what I thought was full on copulation, like successful copulation, but I don't know, it worked. But he was
Yeah.
just, I'd find him just laying on her and their tails were kind of touching, but nothing like, oh yeah, he's getting her done now. But
Mhm.
Yeah. That's great. And so I know we met. I think we talked about this a little bit on our first attempt at recording this episode. But if I recall correctly, the when she laid eggs, like it was actually kind of an ordeal to find them. Is that correct?
oh yeah, it's a pretty funny story.
Yeah.
So yeah, the female burrowed constantly. She was always making burrows. Like at one point, it was pretty cool. She had like a 3-tier burrow going. Like there's a top level, mid level, and a bottom level. So seeing her dig and burrow wasn't anything out of the ordinary. But this time, that one day, I noticed she was just erratically digging, like constantly, just going crazy. So I figured the timeline matched up. I thought maybe she was actually nesting. And then yeah, that whole day she was digging. Then coming the next day, still digging, like just constantly. Like, oh God, she is nesting. And then that was coming up on my weekend. That was Saturday, my weekend, Sunday, Monday. So seeing her do that, I made sure to text the crew that's going to be coming in, like, hey, keep an eye on her. I think she's nesting. She's real skinny. Go ahead and look for them. And then
Yep.
they almost did that morning because she wasn't digging. She was just basking. Sometimes lizards, when they're about to lay eggs, they like the legs. I feel like the eggs kind of line up, so they kind of get skinnier.
Yep.
Mhm.
So they're like, oh God, I think she did lay. But luckily they held off for maybe an hour and she went back to digging. So thankfully they didn't destroy her all of her work that she just did for those 2 days.
Yeah.
And then that Monday, the hole was backfilled and she was super skinny, like a bag of skin, like you'd expect.
Mhm.
So yeah, my boss called and said, hey, where do you think I should start? Because since I saw her the last 2 days. So I kind of gave him direction, like, oh, she was behind this fake rock, heading that way towards the water bowl. So I'd start there. Then he hung up, was like, all right, I'll do that. So he started digging there about 2 hours later. So this exhibit has it's funny, this exhibit has 2 4-foot heat emitters on it. So that in summertime, I crank that up. So it's like 90 degrees ambient in that exhibit. And when you're
Yeah.
up where your face is, it blasts on you, it's probably 150 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
And he's digging through this excavator clay that is like a rock when you hit it with a shovel. But these lizards, they dig through it just fine. It's pretty incredible.
Wow.
And so he felt like he actually found an egg immediately, but it was like a rotten egg. Like she just tossed that one, like she knew it was gross.
Yeah.
So he got all excited, like, oh God, we're finding eggs. Here they are. But then, like an hour and a half into that burrow, thought he hit a dead end. So he's like, oh, I guess she didn't lay over here. So he turned around to one of her other burrows. I started digging in there for another hour. So
Oh,
he's
no.
got dust just filling every orifice of his body. He's sweating. He's getting tired and he has other work he has to do. So he just gave up and quit. And then the next day he's like, sorry, man, I couldn't find them. Maybe you can try. Like, all right, I'll try. And then I kind of worked myself up, like having to put myself through that misery because he told me his whole story.
Mhm.
And I kind of like sat where I thought she had nested, where I told him she did. And I couldn't really see down where I was digging. So I just kind of like took a couple scoops to mentally prepare myself. And I was like, all right, I better lay down and see what I'm doing. So I laid on my stomach and looked down, and there's an opening of a hole, like 3 inches, 3 by 3 inch hole. It's like, oh, there's a burrow right here. I reached my arm in, hit my elbow, and felt a little leathery egg. It's like after
Nice.
me just sitting there, he spent 2 hours. It's like, oh man, they're right here. So I shoved my whole arm. It was just long enough to hit my shoulder. I pulled out the most beautiful egg I've ever seen in my life. I gave it a little kiss,
Yeah.
handed it to my coworker, and just kept bringing them out. She laid 9 total. And yeah.
Wow.
So
Damn.
it was fun for him, I guess.
Yeah, he teed it up for you.
I was actually happy he didn't find him because I wanted to be part of that.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Of course.
I'm glad I didn't have to go through the misery he did. I just had 5 minutes of preparing myself and 2 seconds of digging. I got him.
Yeah. Damn, that's amazing. That's quite excuse me, quite surreal. The I remember you sent me generously, you sent me a photograph of the burrow, if I recall correctly, and you showed me the eggs. Dude, those were like the best looking eggs I have ever seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were the
I
cleanest, whitest eggs I've ever seen in my whole life. Like they're
they're
perfect.
perfect, just perfect. I mean, you get that way, right? Like I feel like it's only us, only lizard
Mhm.
nerds and reptile nerds can truly appreciate like when you see a perfectly formed egg, one that's just
Mhm.
so beautiful and so turgid and so kind of like whitish, pinky, bluey.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like this.
Yep.
Oh man, it's like you're like I did it. This is
Yeah.
you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. You're just like yes. You know,
Not a
like the reptile gods have smiled upon us, you know, like
Yeah, not a
it's
grain of sand stuck to
Absolutely.
those eggs either. They were just as clean as they can be. It's crazy.
it's crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah, God,
So
man,
cool.
real. Do you, how long was the gestation between mating and egg laying?
I wish I knew when they actually, like I said, I couldn't tell if they had a
Oh,
complete
that's right.
copulation or not, but it
Mhm.
was a
That's
little
right.
over a month between introduction and her doing that.
Yeah, okay, okay, cool. I
Yeah.
didn't know. I always wonder if it's going to be like extra long or what, you know, with
Yep.
those larger ones. That's always something I'm
No,
so
it's yeah,
curious about.
probably
That's pretty
not gonna.
quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a speedy turnaround.
Faster
Uh,
than the Polycris.
I mean that boy's been waiting 19 years for that to meet a girl, so he was,
Yeah. He was
oh.
ready.
got himself a young one too. My goodness. But it's
Um,
cool. He's actually wild caught from Australia. Like a zoo caught him
Wow.
as a little baby. So his
whoa,
bloodline has zero representation in captive setting. And then she
Wow.
whoa.
was produced by
Until
Dallas.
now.
So her bloodline is known. So yeah, our babies are almost unrelated to everything else in the US minus
Yeah.
Dallas pair.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Man, that's that's wild stuff. I'm curious along the lines of diet, you know, we're just asking about the diet for the adults. Is it the same thing for the babies? Are you kind of approaching it the same way, keeping them super lean, or are you throwing insect prey into their diet? I mean, how's that working with the youngsters?
Yeah, it's basically going to be all insects,
Okay.
track their diet. I'll probably be feeding them almost daily until we get a track record of how well they're eating. Right now, there's definitely a dominant one, the number two.
Mm.
I just named them how they hatch. So number 1, 2, 3, 4. But
Sick.
yeah,
Yeah.
number 2 is he's gonna be a wild one. So
Mhm.
Do you know their sexes already?
no, I do
No?
not. I don't think we
Okay.
can. I know there's the blood sample that they know they can do for Komodos. So I
Yeah.
know if we want to look into that for these Perenties. But when they're bigger, you can actually sex them with radiograph to look for the
Mhm.
hemibacula in males. That's actually how we
Mhm.
Yeah.
sexed the female we got from Dallas. Like they took radiographs of, they had three excess. They took radiographs of them and they didn't see any of that. So they thought they were all females. They asked us if we wanted one. We're like, yeah. So they sent us a random one. Those other two ended up being males. They radiographed them
Oh
again.
wow.
So we got,
Oh,
How
somehow we got
lucky.
the one of 3 feet, the one of, yeah, whatever. What am I
that
trying to say? The one animal that was female and the other two
oh,
were males. Yeah. So
yeah.
those two males are actually the ones they sent to Ty Park. So he got the excess
Oh,
males.
okay. Oh wow, man, that's wild. What a cool. That's fortunate.
Yeah,
Fortunate for
I
you.
like they sent us an email after we got her, like, hey man, you might want to sex that again. That these two came up male. So we did
Yeah.
radiograph her when she got there, and we didn't see it. So we took her to the hospital again, got a radiograph. Still didn't see
Yeah,
it. So we're like, oh yeah, hopefully female. So
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Excellent. Man, oh
and
man,
now
that's
there's
so
only
sick.
2 females in the U.S., including her. So it's Dallas
Wow.
is the girl
What?
that produced her, and then ours, and then these babies, whichever ones are female. Dallas is also sitting on eggs again, so they'll might hatch. Uh,
Whoa.
so AZA and
And
Perenties are gonna do well this year.
damn.
Yes.
And so is the
About
plan
time.
is oh sorry, go ahead. What'd you say, Roy?
I just said about time.
Oh
Yeah.
We
yeah.
need more Perenties.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I said, when I was
Yeah,
growing up, I thought I wouldn't even be able to see one. Now
Right.
we've got a couple
Mhm.
zoos breeding them, so hopefully more people can see them because they're
Amazing.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
They are.
Easily top five most beautiful, one of the top five most beautiful lizards on earth. Like,
Yeah, because they're number
Yep.
one.
you know, you know, it's debatable. No,
Neck, black and white neck, and then the gold ocelli down the back. That's
no,
awesome.
they're
They're
incredible.
amazing.
I mean, I'm just screwing around. They're. I'm just biased because I gotta think. I have a penchant for herbivores. You know, like I gotta think.
Yeah, and your
Uh,
Fiji iguanas that you've been talking about every day.
Yep.
yeah,
The Fijian.
yeah, yeah. Hell yeah, man. Those Fiji cresteds. Look, I get it. They're not as cool. They're not as like edgy and cool as a Parenti. I get it.
They're just as rare, if not more. So
I think we could all agree that if we did a battle royale of all of these beautiful lizards, the Perentie is the one that would be the last one standing.
gobble them all up.
Oh,
Exactly.
for sure. Yes, dude. But but that's just about which one's the best killer, bro. It's got nothing to do with
What are you
which
trying
one's
to
like.
say?
It's got everything.
Yeah, it's got it all. It's got the looks, it's got the savagery, it's got the whole scene. So I actually want to backtrack just a little bit and ask about the inland taipans because
Yes.
so I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I'm a super big pansy when it comes to number one, getting bit, and number two, with anything that is venomous. I just don't bother. And that's, I mean, obviously I'm not allowed to here in Colorado, but even if I lived in a place where I could, I wouldn't. I've been bitten by collared lizards and I hate it with a fiery passion. So I'm not going to even risk getting bit by something that could envenomate me. But it doesn't mean I don't have like a mad respect and fascination for those things. So is their presence here in the United States, is there any research or anything related to them being here? Is it exclusively for exhibit, or is there other purposes to them being here?
For our purposes, and that there is no reason, just exhibitry and educating public, showing these are the most
It's a good reason. I was just curious.
Yeah. So no, we're not doing any research on them. Like we could, obviously, we can write a paper now because we bred them. We can give. I might actually give a talk at the IHS conference about breeding them. I've been asked to do so. So I don't like public speaking, but but it's a cool thing, and not a lot of people can say they bred an inland taipan. So
yeah, it's true. What are those animals like in terms of like their personality and their I mean, I'm just because I'm imagining those Perenties as like similar to the way when I see the Komodos at the Denver Zoo, just like these insanely intelligent, just sharp as a tack. It's like there's something going on behind those eyes in a way that it's not with other animals. Is that the way it is with the taipans too?
Just for the Perentie real quick, I'll say they lost a little bit of the brains with the beauty. As inquisitive as Komodos, they're definitely more instinctual.
Oh, okay.
The way Komodos look at you is insane. Like you can see the intelligence.
Yeah.
Can't say that same thing about the Perenties, but I still love them either way. But yeah, no, the inland's super easy going. Like you hear it all the time. The babies are wild. They're kind of sketchy, but the adults, yeah, they're pretty easygoing. Super crazy feed response though, so you gotta be careful with that. But yeah, I can tail them no problem, and they'll go where I want them to go. So they're actually a lot of fun.
Sounds terrifying.
No, working venomous is one of my favorite things. Like I just love it. It's just I don't know, it's different. You have to use tools, so you're using like your limbs in a different way, and then there is that danger factor, so you're more focused. Like when you're working venomous, I feel like it's you and that animal, and you don't have to worry. Nothing else in the world matters at that moment, so it's just like a raw, like keeping reptile experience,
just fully switched on.
So you like living on the edge, Matt.
I
You
guess.
just
Like it's not even it's not even like I don't know, the rush you get, the adrenaline rush. It's just that's almost all gone unless something crazy's going on, right? So I don't know. I just like the focus of the animal and not have to worry about anything else in my head. Just yeah.
you didn't feel like when those babies were popping out of those eggs, you're like, all right, getting these things inside into their brooding cages is going to be like pushing all my chips in at the casino.
Nah.
You didn't feel like James Bond, you know?
Yeah, at this point I'm comfortable with my skills that I'm not too worried about that. But sometimes a
That's
snake can get a
awesome.
little wiry and it's like
Mhm.
trying to hook a limp wet noodle, and that's kind of scary because they're not staying on your hook and you're like constantly like, come on, get over here. So
Yeah.
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 God.
The smaller snakes are always way more stressful for me
Oh
to work
yeah, you
with.
get a little baby, even a little baby rattlesnake, that thing's
Oh yeah.
it's going where it wants to go no matter what you try to do with it.
And also just the margins that you're working with in terms of distance,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
like baby rattlesnake, it can if you're close to it, you're really close to it.
Mhm. Yep.
It doesn't have much body length that it has to cross to tag you.
Yeah, working with vipers is so much different than working with a or with a lapids too, because the
Lappets,
lapids
yeah.
are going in a straight line, you know that's where they're going. But man, a viper just recoils before you can even blink. It's like you
Oh,
think you're
it's so
up it,
fast.
and all of a sudden its head's right there. But
Yep.
lapids are easier to kind of gauge where they're going. But what
Mhm.
I found with
You know,
Australian lapids, which is kind of weird, is they're so good at backing up. Like I've never dealt with a snake that can back
Huh.
up smoothly and fast as a like they don't recoil, they straight up back up like they move them
whoa.
Interesting.
instead of what you think a snake's supposed to move them. So you're like pulling it out of the enclosure, like, come on, buddy. And it just says, nope, and backs
And then
up.
it just
Yep.
moonwalks on you.
Can I ask you guys? This is a massive tangent, but you mentioned them moving backwards really quickly. Did y'all ever see that movie? I think it's called Deep Blue Sea, and it had like Samuel L. Jackson in it, and it had the sharks that they'd like modified to make them like intelligent and in this
No.
big deep sea laboratory. And one of the hallmarks was like there was this whole thing where they mentioned like, oh, sharks can't swim backwards, and like out of nowhere you see these modified sharks like swim backwards, and you're just like, oh no, they figured it out, like somehow swim, like it. There's a great scene where Samuel L. Jackson gets taken out from like this underground. Anyway, it's oh my God. If you haven't seen that movie, do yourself a favor and see that. It's so dumb. It is so dumb. Anyway, it was great. But I also wanted to add too, what's fascinating to me is like I consider myself to be I'm an athlete, right? Like I
Mhm.
practice Brazilian jiu-jitsu and I work out a lot. Like I'm an athletic person. And part of the reason that I just would never trust myself to work with, or at least, man, I keep saying this, but you know what? One day I'm probably going to end up with something so deadly and I'm just going to be like, no, it's fine. I was an idiot. But like, I'm so sketched out by that because my damn Egyptian Euromastix has bitten me and he's not fast compared to any
Mhm.
animal, like he's not like, I don't know. I think that's why I don't ever have anything that could hurt me outside of pork chop. But I'm a big wuss anyway. So
Well,
that's,
it's all in the protocol and the tools,
I
It's like I
no.
feel like there's such it's so different, You're just I don't know, Matt, can you speak to that? I mean, you're the one who's really really doing this. I work with, rattlesnakes regularly, but that's not the same thing. And the
Yeah.
context is really different. So can you speak a little bit to like kind of the protocols you have in place and kind of like, yeah, how you work with these animals?
Yeah. So we have a two keeper rule. That doesn't really matter if we're not getting bit. But yeah, we work venomous in tandem. So if something happens, there's someone there to take care of the snake if the person freaked out and the snake's on the ground. And then we also know immediate first aid for bites, which isn't too much. Like we're not chopping the arm off or anything or sucking the venom out. It's just controlling the bleeding and making sure the limb is splinted and everything. and making a radio call saying, hey, there's been a venomous bite here, that alerts our security to open the gate for the EMS. Other than that, we call 911 also. So we don't rely on any outside help in the zoo. We have building wide, like our alarm system goes off building wide. So keepers can know where to respond, because we have little light panels on our walls that say, oh, he's in Tietgen right now. So they run the
Oh,
Tietgen,
wow.
and then start taking direction from the secondary keeper, like, hey, we need get the antivenom ready. So they'll run down to our antivenom fridge, get the appropriate antivenom ready. We also have antivenom tags that we put on ourselves before we open the enclosure, and they're all color coordinated, and they also say what antivenom it is. So we just hand that to whoever's getting the antivenom, so it's kind of, idiot proof, like, oh, Tietgen, okay, and they run down or I guess it's Australia CSL, so we don't have the monovalent, but yeah, Australian CSL, okay, we'll go get that ready. And then we got crowd control, obviously, because if we get bit on a busy day, we need people to get out of our way. But we have a wheelchair station, so the victim goes on a wheelchair. But to prevent all of that from happening, so far the zoo's got a clean record. We've had venomous in our building for over 20 years now.
Wow.
But yeah, we don't. All of our venomous enclosures have locks on them. That's not to keep the animals in; it's to keep unapproved people out. So yeah, we have to get venomous trained before we get the key to those locks. So we go through some training. Usually start with non-venomous snakes, just to get used to the dynamics of a hook. Like we have a black pine snake that's perfect for elapid stuff. And then yeah, we kind of shadow people as they're working venomous, learn how they operate and how the whole thing happens. Then we keep pressure on the door with the hook while we're opening the door. So we undo the lock, the latches, while keeping pressure on the door. Open the door with the hook, not our hands, because we're, you're going in blind, like our displays work on the other side. So it's not like we can see the animal when we're opening the door. So in case the snake's on the door and plops out, it's not on your hand, it's maybe hitting the hook or the ground because you're backing up. We don't reach into the enclosure if the venomous snake is still in it. If we have to do maintenance with our hands, then we'll pull the animal out, put it in the bucket, lock the bucket, label it with the animal's ID card, so everybody knows in their room, hey, there's a venomous snake in here. Then we do all our maintenance, lock, and then put the snake back with the hooks, and then yeah, close the door with the hook, not our hand. That's about it. Some zoos don't allow you to tail. Our zoo does, so that's when you pull the animal's tail towards you and then control the head with the hook. Absolutely no free handling, but I would never condone free handling venomous snakes, no matter what Steve Irwin did. Just don't follow his animals were in coolers for a few hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just use a hook. You don't need to put your hand on an animal. So
yeah,
I don't get that stuff.
Yeah. Do you guys mind? I've been drinking water like a camel.
Go for it.
I have to pee. Okay. BRB.
Yeah. It's interesting, the tailing. I mean, is that pretty much exclusively with the elapids that you're doing the tailing?
That's all I do.
Yeah.
Yes, rattlesnakes, like they can recoil too fast, and I guess I'm too big of a pansy. But like I'm even, I'm the most comfortable on my crew probably with tailing, but I'm not going to do it with a rattlesnake.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I would be more comfortable.
There's a guy with a puff adder like this, like what the? That's
the
in the world, what are you doing? I don't care.
Yeah, it's nuts.
You ever feed a puff adder? That thing is fast.
So full disclosure, I had a free handling phase when I was a teenager with rattlesnakes. And and I've never been bitten, but it's like, now my brain is more fully developed. And
don't have to show off as much.
Yeah, exactly, right. And it's just, I don't see the reason to take the risk. It's like, if I can, respond to a rattlesnake call and move the rattlesnake and it never even rattles, then I'm like, that was perfect. And, I think that sometimes, the people on these calls, that they called me to come and get their rattlesnake are kind of disappointed because they're wanting a show.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, pick it up with the tongs, put it in the bucket, or pick it up with the hook, put it in the bucket, put the lid on the bucket. And they're like, that was it. And I'm like, yep, that's how it should be.
For easy.
Yeah, but every once in a while.
We have some Aatrox I'm sure I could tail if I wanted to. I just don't need to.
Yeah, you don't need to. No need to. Especially with Aatrox, they can have quite the attitude. My experience. I mean, not all of them. They're all individuals, right? But
yeah,
most of the Aatrox I've encountered and worked with have had pretty short fuses.
I think the scariest snake I've worked with was a big Aatrox we had. That thing.
Yeah.
Unreal. Scary.
Yeah.
Like if you don't get in that bucket your first try and it's on the ground, everybody look out. Like I don't care how big that is. He makes it feel tiny. While you're just
intimidating.
Oh God.
Yeah. They're also just intimidating, just their threat posture. It's that classic.
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah.
It's the perfect rattlesnake posture, and they really look the part. They're great snakes. Very cool. Are there any other vipers on the display aside from the rattlesnakes, or is it exclusively rattlesnakes?
No, we have a puff adder on display, and then the mid section.
Nice.
We have Cantil vipers and Sonora.
Oh, cool.
I think other than that, everything's a lapid, other than rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are the Cantils to work with in terms of temperament and?
Exact same as a cottonmouth. I mean, they're striky little things. Yeah, they don't ride hooks well because they're just constantly striking, but they're pretty.
They're really pretty.
You get them in the air on the hook and they'll just strike off. Like,
oh no,
have your bucket ready under them. Like, what are you doing? Can you hold on for 2 seconds? Like, put you in this bucket.
Yeah.
But they're exactly the same as they're like a Mexican cottonmouth, basically, or copperhead, like striky.
Yeah, gorgeous though.
Yeah, I love them. That stripe on those bilateral stripes are insane.
Yeah, so beautiful.
Vibrant.
Kind of reminds me of Willard Eye, Credulous Willard Eye.
That's my favorite
similar. Yeah. I think it's up there for me. I feel like my favorite rattlesnake kind of moves around a little bit, but Willard Eye is definitely on the short list. Welcome back, Phil.
Hey, yo. Arigato.
Well, moving on, I'm curious. Obviously you have all of this experience and expertise and training as a zookeeper at a very high level AZA facility. And something we spoke with Troy about is just kind of the way in which like protocol plays a role in all of that. And the kind of differences for him between working with his collection at home and, working with the collection at the zoo, and the different kind of limitations and constraints involved in those different contexts. So I'm curious if you could speak a little bit to that dynamic, and like if there are aspects of, your training and your work as a zookeeper that you've applied to being at home, and are there also aspects where you feel like the relief of, oh, I don't have to do this because I'm at home. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So part of working at the zoo, I think, has made me want to, do better for my animals at home. Right. Like I'm used to seeing these animals in these nice displays. So I don't really like bare bones exhibits or enclosures at my house. So I try to put rocks and substrate and whatever in my enclosures at home, which is probably why I'm more of a lizard guy than a snake guy, because snakes is it's weird because 15 years ago-ish when I started working with snakes in a naturalistic display, it was like, that was weird. Like, why is a snake on dirt and sticks and stuff, not on just newspaper with a hide? And now everything's evolving and we're getting better at the zoo, even nothing's on newspaper anymore. It's like, why was that weird? Why was keeping a snake naturally weird when it's literally just it's a lizard without legs, they're all squammy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why in herpetoculture do we decide these are so different as far as care should go? But yeah, I think because that's how it was when I started. I just, got into lizards first, and I much prefer them over snakes. But so yeah, with the Euros, I got rocks in with all of them, no matter how heavy it is. It's kind of sucks lugging all that stuff in, but that's also what I do at work. So I'm used to lugging big rocks, going outside, grabbing some rocks, looking like a weirdo, bringing them inside.
Yeah.
So yeah, and other than that, like there's not really any weird constraints I get at the zoo. Like as we are, progress. So we're a progressive crew. Like we're always my boss and supervisor and curator. They're always open to new ways if we think it's better. Like we want to be better. So if I say, hey, can we try this? They're usually open to it, or they'll ask why, and I'll explain why. And they're like, all right, well, yeah, give it a try. So yeah, I can't say I feel constrained at work compared to when I'm at home. And we also have a dietitian that we can talk to. Our dietitian's usually open to suggestions on diets. If we want a diet change, she's usually like, all right, go for it. So
this is excruciatingly selfish, but would you ever be willing to like pass questions to your dietitian about your food choices for uromastics, and be like, oh, I'm keeping these at home. I'm curious what you think about this. Would you ever?
Yeah, that might be crossing a little bit of the line. Like, yeah, if I was like, maybe
you don't have to tell them.
Work maybe. But yeah, maybe if I build a bigger relationship with her, I can ask like, hey, what do you think about uromastic stuff? What's the nutrition of lentil? Like terrible. Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just being silly, but
yeah.
So, one thing that I've been wanting to ask you about this is like, has your position and tenure as a zookeeper changed the way that you view why we do herpetoculture, and has it changed like how you view your role and your purpose in this practice of keeping animals at home? I mean, has it changed the way you justify what you do? I mean, I feel like this is all the same question, but I know I asked it in many different parts. But
well, for me, I think because I started working at a zoo before I even got big into the hobby. The first thing that is on my mind for these animals, regardless of anything else that I care about, is their conservation. So yeah, I'm never gonna buy an animal that I know is poached, and I'm never gonna use conservation as a reason to keep these animals at home, because I know that's not how it works. Like I literally live conservation daily. I know how it works, and I've been part of breeding and release programs for the Louisiana pine snake in Florida or in Phoenix. So I know there's no way Fish and Wildlife is ever going to knock on my door and say, hey, we need your animals for conservation. Right. Strict protocols to what animals they're going to release. So I guess that's about it. Yeah.
Fair enough. So then I guess that brings me to, and maybe I'm not that great at sometimes some of my verbiage for these questions tends to escape me, but I'm going to do my best. I think historically there's been a variety of ways that like the private sector and zoological institutions interact with one another. And I've had conversations with many different people, and there's been so many different opinions and interpretations on that relationship, right? On the one hand, you hear the sort of argument from one side or one camp that says, oh no, there's nothing legitimate about the private sector. It's all flesh peddling and like meat market stuff, and it's sort of it's all for selfish reasons and selfish purposes. But then you have sort of the other end of the other camp that says, well, actually, often the private sector can do a better job than most zoological institutions, especially with regard to learning how to unpack and unwind some of the complexities and mysteries around especially difficult or sensitive species. And we should be working together more with the private sector. Legalizing more trade would be more beneficial for some, meeting some of the same ends that so many zoological institutions purport to be seeking. How are you thinking about these maybe two ends of this argument? And subsequently, are there ways that if this is something that you want to see, are there ways where you think that zoological institutions and the private sector could work together more and more effectively?
Yeah, I know both sectors.
Yeah,
Like
I know.
there's
Yeah, you do.
yeah, there's
Oh,
private
yeah.
people that just dog on zoos real hard. Like, you could give me that and I'll breed it in next year.
Yeah.
But and then yeah, I know a lot of people think zoos hate the private sector. Some individuals hate the private sector,
Mhm.
but I mean, there's field herpers that hate the private sector. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
there's people that
totally.
want them
Yeah.
in the wild and that's it.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's hard to answer how we can all get together and say kumbaya. But I mean,
Mhm.
when you're dealing with like herpers specifically, like herp departments, a lot of us are in both boats. Like, a lot of us started keeping with our own private collection. So
Mhm.
why the private sector hates zoos so much sometimes, I don't get, when we're all the same people. But it's hard to, I don't know. I know the biggest example that of a private person working with AZA right now, I would say, is Ty Park, right? So he's
Mhm.
kind of proved himself. Like, he spends thousands of dollars on cyclurid conservation and all that. Like, he really puts his money where his mouth is. That, and he breeds them so well that even some AZA institutions saw that he does so well with his iguanas. They're now trusting him with the only pair of penguins in the whole
Mhm.
Yeah.
world. Right? They're like, he
Yeah.
knows what he's doing. Give him these, and hopefully he can help breed them. Because
Mhm.
zoos might seem huge, but we're just as limited on resources as everybody else. I mean, we have a certain amount of space that we have to, to come up with to fill, like, for conservation, plus what we want on display, plus whatever else. So I
Mhm.
think, I don't remember which Florida zoo gave them those, Fort Worth maybe. So I'm guessing they probably needed more space in their institution for another cycler project, because I know they're working with a few species there. So I think they just
Mhm.
saw his work and know, he's now building his own zoo, which maybe it'll be AZA or not. I don't know. But that's kind of, I don't know, some of the animals he's been getting is with AZA zoos is pretty, I don't know how he's doing it or what paperwork he has, but I don't know, he built a relationship somehow. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
not everybody can do that, because I know obviously he has a lot of money. So he was
Mhm.
able to do all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah. I mean,
how, yeah, we can talk
yeah. I
AZA
mean,
into talking to smaller people. That's hard work.
Yeah.
yeah. No, I understand. I mean, this is an area in which I'm highly naive. I don't have. I've sold some animals to a few different AZA places, but that's about as far as it's gone for me. I'd love to do more if there was some way, but because I think about things like, um, for example, like Uromastix yemenensis, right? I think about this species all the time because they're reptilian refugees, man. They're from a country that is a failed state. There's not really going to be any functioning conservation going on with regard to them. They came in twice, three times, maybe, over the last 30 years. And their numbers are high, extremely small and few and far between, and they are so unique and so incredible.
Mhm.
I totally understand that everyone's resources are limited, and priorities are at odds with one another for various reasons. You know, I can totally see why an elephant would take more priority over a lizard, you know, for obvious reasons. You know, and I get it. It's just, it's something that, it's like a topic that's very intriguing to me, because, you know, you know, it's obvious that both sectors have a great deal of value and a great deal of contribution to make to our lives and our world, you know. And it's like, I guess maybe I'm responding to what I have always heard of as a conflict between zoos and the private sector. Maybe that's manufactured, maybe it's not real. I'd always just that's just sort of something I've always heard as something of a reality. So it's just something that I wonder about a lot, you know.
Yeah. I don't know if it's driven by jealousy or what, just because of what AZA zoos have the ability to get, like a Parenti,
Like
right?
Perenties.
Everybody wants Parentes, but they're illegal. Like, sorry, Australia said no. It's not my fault. It's not the zoo's fault, right?
It is, though. It is actually a little bit your fault.
I went to Australia. The government in the 70s and said, stop letting these go.
Everyone file your complaints with Matt
Yeah.
Pigeon.
Yeah, send it to him. Be like, yo, dude, quit bogarting all the Perenties, man.
Yeah. So I don't know what, I don't know what drives people's minds when they hate on zoos so much. Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
I also don't know why, whatever. Yeah. I know why conservation organizations might dog on the private sector, but
Mhm.
we're not all bad.
That's
All they see
true.
is the bad stuff, right? They're like, you
Yeah.
took that from where? How'd you do that?
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
Yeah. True enough.
I don't know.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's just interesting. It's just one of those things that's like a little bit kooky to me, you know. You know, and again, I don't know. Maybe I'm just sort of spewing a bit of a rumor, living in a rumor mill over here, because maybe that's not as real of a divide or dichotomy as I made it out to be in that question, I think. So if it's cool with you guys, I want to try to get into a couple. So I think Matt, I think you're going to have some interesting thoughts around the last question that we asked, but before we get into that area, because I think we're going to spend a little bit of time there. Okay, so before I get to this question, I thought of one more here that I want to ask you that I meant to ask earlier. What are some ways that you maintain a work-life balance? You know, I mean, because I feel like burnout is a real thing for a lot of herpers, and you know, between having your collection at home and the animals you work with at work, and I know that you, just like a lot of us who do this for a career, it's this deep passion in you, right? But are there things that you're doing to help maintain that balance? Do you have other hobbies, you know, or you know, like friends outside of the reptile space? Like, how does that look for you personally?
Yeah, reptiles are basically my entire life. But sometimes I do feel a little like I just want a weekend, right? But I have to take care of animals.
Yeah.
But I can tend to blame that on the animals, but it's really, I think it's just burnout personally in my life. I don't think I need, it's like as soon as I go downstairs, start taking care of the animals, I'm like, oh, this is actually still fun.
Yeah.
So, like, I can't blame the animals for burnout. I think it's just my head needs to relax. But, turn on music, start taking care of the animals, and all of a sudden that all goes away. So, yeah, but I do. My schedule is I wake up real early. I wake up at 4:30, and I a little bit of a workout in before work, but I also take some time to do some quick husbandry of my own stuff. So when I come home from actual work and I'm actually burnt out, because can be pretty labor intensive, I don't have to worry about anything except for maybe feeding the geckos, because I feed those at night, obviously, because they're nocturnal. But yeah, in the mornings I'll do a quick mist on things that need misted. I'll grab quick fecals out if there's any that are obvious, and then I'll throw some food at the Euros so they can wake up to some breakfast if they want. Then I'll go to work. Then I'll come home, check and make sure all the lights are working, because a lot of times the lights are still off when I leave for work. So I'll check all the lights, and I'll just throw some food at the geckos if I have to for that day. And then Sunday is my big at-home clean. So I'll spend hour or 2.5 hours down there, just really picking up any decals I might have missed. And I remoisten like the cool side of the sand for like the smooth knob-tailed geckos, because I like to give them a little sand to burrow in that's humid throughout the week, and I let it dry out, and then I'll remoisten it on my weekend. So yeah, I'll spend a lot of my time down there on Sunday. But other than that, I mean, I'm good to go for the rest of the weekend. So yeah, I get a little bit of a rest in there. Yeah, don't get burned on the reptiles. My mind just tells me I'm burnt out on the reptiles because it's something I have to do, and I don't want to do anything, right?
Right.
But, yeah.
Interesting.
I can definitely relate to that that feeling of like, I don't want to do anything today.
Yeah.
But then as soon as I, am down there with the animals, it's like immediately just drop into that same state of, just kind of gratitude and flow for getting to spend time with them.
Yeah, I open up like a tub of AMA that's fired up that day. I'm like, oh my God, look at you. Okay, everything's gonna be like just
exactly
bright orange. Like, oh boy.
It's like, oh wait, I do this stuff because it helps me forget about my troubles anyway.
Yeah. Or I can do nothing by sitting down there and just staring at a Euro sitting on a rock. You're pretty awesome. Doing nothing, but you're pretty awesome.
Yeah,
definitely.
Correction, they are doing something, and it is looking badass. Thank you. Isn't it weird that we do that? Isn't it so bizarre that we sit and we look at an animal that's doing nothing but basking, and you're just like, cool.
Yeah, I do that at work too when I'm feeling a little down that day. There's a few animals I look at. I'm like, okay, my life's actually pretty cool. Staring at a Philippine crocodile, just sitting there with his mouth open, doing nothing. Like, oh, awesome.
Yeah.
How many other people in this world right now are staring at a Philippine crocodile? Like, not very many. So
not many.
Yeah, and most of them are probably in the Philippines.
Yeah. Probably at Mabuwaya Foundation in the Philippines. They're probably staring at a bunch of them.
Oh man, that's great. So all right, so what does the future look like for you, Matt? So I mean, and I want to ask that with regard to like, what are some goals that you may have that are on the horizon, or things that you'd still like to accomplish with your career and with your personal work? Like, are thorny devils on the radar for you guys, considering Perenties were out of the question in your mind for so long, and then yeah, and then all of a sudden now we have it. Now there's some Moloch Horridus on the horizon, or what's going on there?
I wish, but unfortunately, those Alice Springs cheats when they do use those, because they just take them outside in pens where their natural one species of ant that they like to eat is there. So they just throw them out in a pen where the ants are crawling around. So they're
manifested.
Yeah. But I don't know, this year was huge for me. Like, we literally produced everything I wanted to in my life. So I don't know where else to go from here. But I don't like, as far as like raising in the ladder of the zoo, like I feel like I'm pretty good right now. I don't know if I want to be once you get so high, it stops becoming about the animals, and you have to start managing people, right? So I don't want to get away from like, there's a reason I'm a zookeeper. I don't want to deal with people that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, this year we bred Mexican giant horn lizards. So check those off. I love rhinosoma. Freshwater crocodiles. Check those off. Inland taipans and Perenties. So I think really the only project I really want to, we've been working on, it's a long-term project, but we actually we're trying to become the first institution in the world to artificially inseminate crocodiles unrestrained, and we're working with the Philippine crocodiles to do that. So,
Whoa.
so there's the largest, oldest male Philippine in the world, or not in the world, but in the U.S. is in the jungle building, and they have him trained to come back and turn around, and we can lift his tail, pull his phallus out, and we can wrench his phallus, just all unrestrained, like he's used to it by now.
Wow.
Yeah. Rinse his phallus. We have a repro department on grounds. Like we have a whole bunch of departments that no other institution gets in their on their crew. So we have a repro department that goes and counts his sperm, see how many are motile, and then I'm the lead trainer on the girls. They're about, I think, coming up on, I think they're 18 years old now. They're just now breeding size, but they're tiny
Wow.
compared to the male. And they actually, Philippine crocodiles are notoriously aggressive towards each other. So we don't want to throw a female in there and have them just die. It's the rarest
Mhm.
crocodile in the world, true crocodile. So with the girls, we have them target trained. That was their first training. Like they got that down pat. Like they'll go wherever that target goes. And then I built we just finished, this was like a 5-year project. I finished we increased their enclosure size. So each girl has 2 8-foot round tubs that they can bounce between, and a huge land area. Before they were just living in one 8-foot tub with one little basking area they can get up, not even land. So I spent the last 5 years increasing that, like literally tenfold. They probably have 10 times as much space as they used to have, and land that they have, and substrate. So that was great. But they have a shift between them, so I can lock them on one side or another in case I need to do maintenance on one side. But for their training, I built a crate that they go into. So I target them into the crate. The crate has 2 lateral doors and a bottom door. So the lateral doors are for ultrasound training. So every week we actually just pop an ultrasound on them, again, unrestrained. And we've gotten to the point now where it's 100% voluntary. It's their,
Wow.
like if they don't want to train, they don't have to. So we can actually, I turn the crate around, open their door to their exhibit or their enclosure, and they can go in there whenever they want. But they usually sit still. They're so used to being touched now that they don't care, as long as they get fed when they get touched. So we do unrestrained voluntary ultrasounds to see the follicular development. So crocodilian reproduction is another thing that's almost unstudied, other than alligators, obviously, because of the farms, and then
Right.
salties because of Australian farms. But with Philippines, we don't know anything about the reproductive cycle. So we ultrasound them. The repro tech measures follicles and is lining them up with male semen production, so we can see when they line up best. And then we're now doing blood work on the females also. So every week or every other week, we'll actually do a voluntary tail stick, which isn't as easy as the ultrasound, because we're physically taking blood from them. So sometimes they'll react a little bad, but yeah, we've gotten several voluntary blood sticks from these females through this training.
Wow.
Cool.
Also,
So cool.
with one of them, the trap door on the bottom is for cloacal access, and so we've actually stuck a endoscope up her cloaca to see where the oviducts would be, so we know where to put the semen if we ever get that far. So we actually did that fully voluntary too. She just sat there the whole time, like, while I'm over here getting farted on by her, because we have to pop air in there to open it. I'm just like the only guy in the world probably that's been farted on by a Philippine crocodile for half hour looking up her cloaca. But so yeah.
And the only other guy who might have been farted on by a Philippine crocodile is probably in the Philippines.
Oh, probably. Yeah. So it's a fun project. We're closer than we've ever been before, but at the same time, it feels like we're farther than we've ever been done before, because every step we take, there's more questions to be answered.
Right.
But projects like this don't really it's pretty rare in a zoo setting to have. I mean, this takes 4 crews to collaboratively work together, so it's hard getting everybody together at the same time. Like we got jungle crew doing the male, and then we go over and help if we need to. And then we have our crew with the females, plus the vet tech, plus the repro scientist. Like it's just a huge collaborative effort to do this. But with the male, we actually used American alligators as the study because alligators are the puppy dogs of crocodilian world.
Mm-hmm.
So we used our 2 males to figure out how to get the phallus out and rinse it and all that. So that Omaha Zoo was the first institution in the world to get modal sperm from an unrestrained crocodilian. So at the farm, all this AI work is done by knocking out the male, electro-ejaculating him, waking him back up, or just straight up killing him, quickly taking the testes out and getting it that way. And we don't want to do that with ours. We're trying to do this 100% voluntary, 100% unrestrained. So yeah,
it's amazing.
Holy shit,
yeah,
man.
do it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I had no idea that was the thing. I didn't even think that was something that was even happening in the world. That's incredible.
Yeah, exactly. How would we know?
Right, exactly. How would we know? You know?
Maybe one day.
Heard it here first, folks.
Then the world will know.
Yeah.
Amazing. Really amazing.
All right. Wow, man. That's fucking excellent. It's so cool. Okay, so I wanna get onto our final question that we ask everyone. And the reason I want to get to this is because I think that maybe I want to try to unpack it a little bit more. And that question is why herpetoculture? And part of why I want to unpack that a little bit is because it's just been on my mind a little bit more, right? And so normally when we ask that question, why herpetoculture, we say, oh, this is open-ended, and take it kind of as you will. Like this could be why for you, or why so societally, and why culturally. And I kind of want to pin you a little bit more because you have such a breadth of experience, and you're both in the zoological and private sector. So why herpetoculture, and why do you think, if you had to make your best steelman argument for why it is useful societally speaking, why?
I can't explain why. When I watched Croc Hunter, it exploded in my mind that I need to work with these animals in the first place. But something about it clicked with me way back then, and now at this point, like reptiles have given me so much in my life that like I'm indebted to them forever. Like they've given me, like literally, they've given me my career. They give me a reason to go out in nature, explore, get some sunshine, look for animals, connect with nature. I mean, they give me a whole bunch of life skills I never thought I'd have. Like I never thought I'd be good at plumbing anything or building enclosures out of steel tubing and wire mesh.
Yeah.
And yeah, and they've given me at this point, I mean, lifelong friends. I've met so many people that almost all my friends now have come from the herp world, be it from work or private culture, any of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, they've given me a reason to care for the natural world, really. I mean, now my whole life is based around trying to conserve everything that I possibly can, do what I can, my best. I don't have the biggest pessimist in the world probably when it comes to the outlook, the future of this world, but I'm gonna try. So yeah, I'm just indebted to them at this point in my life that every day I try to do my best to give back to them. For me, that's why herpetoculture, I guess.
I love that. I love that exactly what you said. They've given me a reason to care about the natural world. I mean, I feel like that's a huge that in particular, I think is probably going to be a big takeaway from this episode for me anyway. because I feel like that's very well said. I bring this up a lot, but one of my favorite answers was Phil Tremper saying that it's a disease. It's one of my, I mean, that was unbelievable, and it was so poignant, and it impacted me when he said that, because I'm like, yeah, it definitely feels like a problem. Like,
that's probably what. Yeah. See, I got caught with the disease, and now I'm at this point now. So
yeah, exactly. But yes, but
It starts as a
agree
disease, but it heals you in the end.
yeah. But I feel like that, what you just said, the fact that it gives you a reason to care about the natural world. I mean, I feel like it's given me that as well, like not that I might not have cared, but man, I care a hell of a lot more, like, no, it's like, I want there to be ornate Uromastics out there dicking around out in the deserts for as long as possible, and anytime they change, I want it to be for reasons that are what's the word? Non-primate related, like, if that makes sense.
Non-anthropogenic.
Thank you. That's the freaky, yes, that's the word I wanted, Roy. See, this is why, for those out there wondering how Roy and I decided to do this podcast together, and it's because I realized I needed somebody smarter and better looking than me to help me out with this crap, because I'm only about halfway there,
I needed somebody braver and more gregarious, so it's just really perfect.
You say braver?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you go out into the wilderness, bro. I don't go out into the wilderness. I did when I was a kid, but I did all the Boy Scouts and all that garbage.
I also don't wrestle and try to choke people and avoid getting choked by people on a daily basis. So
it's tame. It's tame. It seems more brave than it actually is at the end of it. Anyway. Matt, where can people follow what you do, for people who want to pay attention to the excellent epic work that you're doing?
Probably Instagram. I'm getting more and more picky as who I add on Facebook. So, but yeah, Instagram is at Tietgen for primary photography stuff, pretty pictures. My personal collection stuff is at Bloody Goannas, which is a name I came up with when I was working with blood pythons and monitor lizards, but I kept it because I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I don't think did I know that those two accounts were both you? I don't know if I knew that.
I don't think I knew that either. I'm gonna have to find you Bloody Goannas now.
Oh my God.
But seriously,
I don't even follow you.
Seriously,
dude.
listeners, you gotta follow for the photographs alone. It's
beautiful
incredible.
Photography. Just beautiful. Yeah, you take world-class photos, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
And I'm embarrassed to say that I didn't know Bloody Goannas was you, and I didn't follow that account. I just followed it just now. So I have accountability, okay? Because I thought it was just your personal account. I thought that was the one I needed to pay attention to. I feel like such a dummy. Oh my God. There was something else I wanted to say about that too, because did you, by chance, Matt, did you happen to listen to the episode that we did with Dan Sheehan and Stacy Sholdowski?
Yeah.
By chance? Did you hear my rant on that about photography and about how much I love?
I remember that.
Okay. Did that resonate with you as a person, as a photographer?
Yeah, it's yeah. When I see people with animals for sale and it's blurry, or I don't know. Yeah. Whereas when I take them, you can count basically every scale on their body, and then other people, I still get people asking for more pictures. And I'm like, what information you're not getting from this one? You can count every, you can speciate this animal out if you wanted to.
Yeah, dude.
But then despite go and take stupid cell phone pictures, like, here you go.
Excuse me, could you send me one that shows all the ventral scales, please?
Sometimes I do. I did that for when I bred Petrosaurus. I take bent pictures because that's how you can sex
Oh,
them.
you got it. Yeah,
But
yeah.
here's the big scales for the male and none for the female. So
I swear when someone asks me for more photos of an animal that I've put up, I want to throw up. You
yeah,
know, dude,
yeah.
like for the
Then
same
you're met
reasons
with, all right, I'll call you back later. And they never like, okay,
yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
just ghost you after
God.
that. Like, what are you doing with my pictures? Selling it yourself?
Uh-huh.
Amazing,
Ay,
dude.
ay,
Well,
ay.
again, these you take great photos. I've always noticed that, man, about your about the images you put up. There was a few when I'm pretty sure you took some sweet photos of some vestigium too back in the day. Am I remembering correctly, Matt?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh
I've seen
man,
them.
I miss those bad boys. All right. Anyhow, so I think that this is a great time, great opportunity to go ahead and close out the conversation. You guys are both okay with that?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for the time, Matt.
Yeah.
No
Seriously,
problem.
thank you. Really, with like the stuff you do is incredible to be able to even watch you do it. I get to try to live a little bit vicariously through you. I can pretend that maybe one day I can touch the claw of a Parenti and be like, oh man.
Yeah. Some dome on you, probably I could make that happen.
I mean,
We got to come visit.
you know,
It's worth it's worth the ticket right there.
Yeah, challenge accepted.
I'll let you hold
Yeah,
the
because
little stub leg.
Oh
yes,
man.
yes, dude.
I'd probably just be crying.
Yeah,
Tears of
probably.
joy.
Yeah.
Well, and also, now that I think about it, I personally shouldn't have much of an excuse because you're
It's
not that
far
far
for
from me.
you.
No,
Yeah,
it's not
you're
that far.
close.
Not that. I
Mhm.
I drove out to Nebraska for the that total solar eclipse that happened about
Oh,
what
nice.
was
Yeah,
it,
that was one of the
6
best
weeks
places to
ago,
see it.
something?
Bellevue.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was because it was in around the range of totality or whatever. So
Did you go see
I
Bill
feel like
Nye?
uh-huh.
Did you go see Bill Nye? Because he was in Bellevue for that. Bill Nye.
No, I didn't know. I should.
That's funny.
Missed that.
I had no idea.
I was at
Oh
work.
man.
So,
You missed the real show then, Phil.
yeah.
Yeah, I did. It's a real show. That's true. But if I drove out there for a total solar eclipse, then I should probably drive out there for a Parenti. So
Easy.
yeah, we're gonna have to make it happen here soon enough. All right. Well, Roy, do you want to hit that button, the
Yep.
stop
I'll
recording?
hit the button. Thank you,
Yeah.
gentlemen.